When people think about the fall of Rome, the same scenes usually come to mind: barbarians storming the gates, legions collapsing, emperors poisoned in their palaces. But let's be honest, empires rarely fall in such dramatic moments. The real collapse is quiet, slow, and most of the time, it begins from within. Rome fell that way too. Not only by swords, but by money. Because history shows us this clearly, one of the fastest ways to destroy an empire is to destroy its currency. Rome is one of the earliest and clearest examples of this. And the interesting part is that what happened back then doesn't feel unfamiliar at all today. Let's go back for a moment. For centuries, the foundation of Rome's economy was the silver denarius. First minted around 201 BC, this coin was nearly pure silver. Soldiers were paid with it. Merchants demanded it. Ordinary people stored their savings in it. The denarius wasn't just money, it was trust in physical form, trust in Rome itself. As long as people believed in and trusted Rome, they trusted its money. But keeping a vast empire standing is not cheap. Armies, roads, aqueducts, endless wars. Over time, expenses began to exceed revenues. Especially by the 2nd century AD, Rome was struggling on every front. When taxes were no longer enough, emperors turned to a familiar path: hollowing out the currency. Raising taxes was too risky, the people might revolt. Instead, the silver content of the denarius was reduced. At first, they thought no one would notice. But numbers are ruthless. Under Augustus, the denarius was about 95% silver. A few centuries later, that figure fell first to around 50%, then to less than 5%. What looked like the same coin was now almost entirely bronze. People were not foolish. Anyone who held the coin could feel the difference. And once trust disappeared, the consequences followed. Prices rose. Wheat that once cost a single denarius now required dozens. Soldiers complained that their pay was no longer enough. Merchants refused to accept the debased coins, turning instead to barter or gold. In small local markets, people abandoned money altogether and returned to direct exchange. The state repeated the same mistake: it believed printing more money would solve the problem. It didn't. It made everything worse. As trust declined, money lost value. As money lost value, trust declined even further. A vicious cycle. This process dragged Rome into complete chaos in the 3rd century. Invasions, plagues, civil wars. Emperors rose and fell within months. But behind all this turmoil was the same core issue: a broken monetary system. The state grew desperate. It tried to freeze prices, force people to work, and impose harsh laws. At one point, Emperor Diocletian declared, "I will set the price of everything." Those who disobeyed faced the death penalty. And the result? The black market exploded. Official trade collapsed. Because everyone understood one simple truth: a broken coin cannot be fixed by law. Eventually, Rome gave up. The denarius was abandoned. Constantine introduced the solidus, a coin made of pure gold. In the Eastern Roman Empire, this currency worked for centuries. But for the Western Empire, it was already too late. The economic foundation had rotted away. The army had collapsed, trade had fragmented, trust was gone. Rome did not fall in a single day. It was hollowed out from the inside. So what does this story tell us? This: the collapse of money is always the collapse of great systems. Rome thought it could adjust things a little, and no one would notice. Many governments today think the same. Only the methods have changed. Instead of reducing silver in coins, paper is printed, debt is inflated, and inflation is labeled normal. But the outcome is always the same. The people pay the price. After Rome, this story repeated itself again and again. In Germany in the 1920s. In Zimbabwe in the 2000s. And more subtly, but continuously, in modern economies. When the dollar was severed from gold in 1971, few wanted to think about the long-term consequences. But when you look at the purchasing power of a dollar today, it's not so different from Rome's denarius. The money looks the same. But it's hollow inside. The real danger is this: today the system is global. A problem in one place affects everyone. And as always, the heaviest burden falls on those who live on wages, savings, and pensions. The elites? They always find a way to protect themselves. That's why there are a few clear lessons to take from this story. Inflation is not an accident. Real wealth is not found in paper, but in things that produce value. And no system is stable forever. The people of Rome could never imagine that their money would one day be worthless. But it happened. Because when money breaks, society breaks with it. Words lose meaning, trade stops, and the state loses legitimacy. And usually, in the end, the barbarians arrive. But the real destruction has already begun inside. History doesn't repeat itself exactly. But if you don't understand it, it will catch you in the same way. Rome's story didn't stay in the past. It only changed its form. If this narration made you stop and think for a moment, you're in the right place. Because sometimes, the best way to understand the future is to look calmly at the past.